Díomh Accordia. Hello friends and welcome back to the Cray McCree podcast. It's Michelle Elaine Nugul. I am Elaine Doyle and it is with deep, heartfelt gratitude that I welcome you back to this sacred space. Yeah, so how are you getting on? I hope everyone is keeping well during this Samhain portal. So today is the 13th of November and I don't know about you, but I'm still massively feeling the Samhain energy. And today is actually the new moon in Scorpio, so I really feel the energies are super powerful and intense at this moment in time. And yes, what a time to be alive as we heal and remember the ancient wisdom of this land. And it's a crazy time to be alive on this earth with everything that's going on, but it's such a beautiful time to be here to share our light and to heal and to remember the wisdom of our ancestors. So in today's episode, I'm just going to share whatever, again, Cray McCree, which means the soil or the earth of my heart. So it's just a place where I share the musings or reflections from my heart. So yes, I'm going to share a bit of a life update, and I want to talk about water and the importance of water in our lives and on our healing path. So thank you for joining me, and it's such an honor to share my truth and my voice with this community. So where do I start? As I said, we're still in the depths of the Samhain portal and season, and oh my goddess, I have found the last week or so nearly overwhelming in terms of the amount of ancestral trauma and pain that has come up. Because I'm setting that intention at this time of year to connect with my ancestors, both the pain and the gifts. What traumas or pain is within me that really needs to be healed at this time. And some of the themes that have been coming up for me, and I think it's important for me to share this because a lot of the time when I share what's coming up for me, people can really resonate, is wounds with the masculine, which I have probably shared in other podcast episodes, but I recently moved in with my partner here in Wexford, which has just been amazing. But also it's my first time, I'm 35 years of age, it's my first time to live with a man, and holy goddess, am I been faced with all of my wounds and all of my wounding in relation to the masculine. And the divine thing about being in a romantic relationship, is that these people act as mirrors to our own gifts and our own pains. And friendships and families, everybody is a mirror to us. And, it can be so easy to blame or judge or project onto the other person. But a lot of the time, they're mirroring our own shadows, our own things that we don't like about ourselves. And it's really important that we don't project onto that other person or don't judge that other person, because the real important work is to look at why we're being triggered by that person and how we can improve ourselves rather than blaming or judging the other person or needing the other person to change for us to feel better. this is the real work, lads. This is the real work. And I've had to be pulled in line this past week or so, where I've been projecting onto my partner and seeing how much judgment I have towards the masculine is just unbelievable. And I remember like growing up and kind of witnessing family members, always kind of complaining that the masculine wasn't doing enough, and seeing how it's a deep ancestral wound where the feminine is putting the masculine down. And I think it's for many reasons. One of the reasons in my lineage anyway is the fact that there was a lot of arranged marriages and dowries in rural Ireland. So women were marrying men who they didn't even love. And perhaps as a result there was a lot of difficulties with the masculine in relationship. That's one reason. And I think the other reason is because for women, a lot of our traumas were actually inflicted by the masculine. The burning at the witches was done mainly by men and clergymen. And the whole patriarchal system is a masculine energy, so we're projecting that anger towards the patriarchy onto the men sometimes. And you know what? At this point in time in my journey, I don't even need to know why. But what I do need to move into is a deeper trust and love of the divine masculine, and seeing where the judgment lies and why. I think it's like feeling deeply unsafe around the masculine, or feeling like they're not good enough. But a lot of that again is being projected by my own judgments around myself about not being good enough or not doing enough, and projecting that on then to the people in my life or the man in my life, because that's the person who I'm seeing the most and who is the biggest mirror to me. So that's something that's really big that's been coming up, and seeing how it could actually end a relationship when we are unconsciously projecting low states of consciousness onto the person we are in love with. And even in really conscious spiritual relationships, this stuff will come up. And I catch myself sometimes and I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like, acting that way, that is so unconscious. And that, part of being spiritual isn't about trying to not go into that space. We're not trying to hide our shadow or our unconsciousness. What we're trying to do is to have really safe relationships where we're allowing our shadow and unconscious cycles and habits to come out so we can heal them, if that makes sense. And it's kind of, when you say, oh, that woman is really nice, but it's like, when she's at home with her family, she's like, or a man like that, is mad, because we let loose at the people we are close to because we feel safe to allow them to see all parts of ourselves. Now, it's not okay, as my friend Eva says, to let the shadow rule the show, or to take over, or to be abusive. But it is important, I feel, in conscious relationships, to allow ourselves to allow the people we love to witness those parts of ourselves, those unconscious parts of ourselves, so we can bring it into the light. Because if we hide it, we're never going to heal it. We need to bring it out. We need to expose it. And we need to be in relationship with people, either romantic or friendships, where they can hold that shadow not necessarily take it personal or react, but are willing to sit down maybe a day or two after and say, what was that about? If that makes sense. I hope some of that makes sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is utilising conscious relationships to really, really uncover your shadow and heal it. And in Ireland, this is like everything's brushed under the carpet and just it's too awkward to speak about it. We're not continuing that cycle. We're okay. On Samhain, this astrological day, me and my partner had a bit of a bust up, and the importance of sitting down a few days afterwards when we're both calmed down, when the anger is reduced, to really hash out what happened, what was coming up for me, what was coming up for him. And it was so powerful because we both got to look at both of our shadows, and it was such a healing experience then because we brought healing to wounded parts of ourselves. And that's why I'm so grateful to be in a conscious relationship, because I just don't know how a relationship would survive if you're having bust-ups, which is going to happen because you're living with somebody or you're, dating somebody. Your shadow's going to come up, and if you're not talking about it and hashing things out and saying sorry and forgiving the other person and going deep into what's coming up for that person, there's going to be a lot of suffering in that relationship. There's going to be a lot of resentment and, negative energy, basically. And I've noticed since we really hash things out that there's just such a lighter energy in our relationship. And yes, of course, these things are going to happen continuously, but it's about coming back into sacred space to really communicate what's been brought up for one another. So that is just a small aspect of what's been coming up for me at this sound, which is, as I said, healing my relationship with the masculine. And I feel like, I think it's Lauren Crenn, who is an amazing podcast about the divine masculine. But I suppose the reality is a lot of women have started out on this spiritual healing path ahead of men in a way. I suppose right now we are in a heart-led consciousness, which is really coming back to the divine feminine energy within all of us, which is slowing down, love, compassion, trusting, sitting in the unknown, and all these feminine principles that both men and women are being called into a deeper relationship with. And as women, we embody more feminine energy naturally. So of course we're going to be perhaps a little bit ahead of the masculine in certain ways. And this isn't about inequality. This is just about stating facts. And that's what I believe. And I feel like if that's the case, we have to be really compassionate and supportive of the divine masculine, of the men, especially in Ireland, to help them to be more in their feminine. I really feel like that's a really important job for us women, is to really be compassionate and supportive of the men, to help them rise, to help them be more vulnerable, to help them come back into their power. Because it's not just women who were affected by patriarchy or the darkness in the world. Men also were too, and they were ripped apart in terms of what toxic masculinity was and not allowing to be vulnerable or share their emotions. So as women, we really need to be open to holding a lot of space for men to really develop their feminine energy and to help them deeper onto this spiritual path. And, when we're in conscious relationships, when we can help a man to do that, they're also able to hold deep space for us. That's really important. I know my pattern in relationships was to hold a lot of space for the man and fix them and heal them, and wasn't getting enough in return. So it's really important in relationships that we feel like we're getting equal give and take, and it's taken me a lot of work and healing to finally be in a relationship where it's balanced and equal and reciprocal and beautiful and loving and union. Anyways, and what else on the Samhain energies? I just want to say another life update. I mean, I just moved from Kilkenny down to Wexford. I was kind of living in between both spaces, but how unsettling that actually is for anyone out there who's used to kind of moving around in that nomadic pilgrimage lifestyle. Doesn't always serve our highest good, I don't think. And you might remember a few months ago I was really guided to move to the west of Ireland, and I took a lot of action to move up there. A lot of action. More action that I've taken in a really long time. And nothing was manifesting. I was like, I need to stop trying so hard and just take the next step that's effortless and easy. And I think this is an important point, because sometimes we feel like we have to work hard to get what we want, but sometimes that's really going against the flow. And I think that sometimes our spirit guides or our ancestors that are supporting us on our path sometimes forget how difficult it can be to be in the physical reality, and how exhausting and tiring the healing path can be. And I've actually had to say to my guys, just slow down. Just slow down on me. I need to go really slow here. And of course, a part of my, I think feel like my shamanic self wants to be on the west coast, where there's just real wild nature, and my soul really loves it there. But actually right now I'm in the midst of a massive awakening, and it's just so nourishing to be here in Wexford, where it was just more effortless and easy to transition to. And sometimes we're allowed to take the easy, effortless option, giving ourselves permission to do that. And I think that's really important. And there's stuff even coming through for me now. It's important not to be afraid to take steps into deeper initiation, or to do things that are outside of our comfort zone. I totally have done that, and that's a massive part of how I grow, is to really go outside my comfort zone. But I suppose when we're in really intense times, the energies are really intense. Sometimes we just really need to take a more effortless and easy approach. And I think it was 2.5 months I was trying to get west, and I was like, I have to stop this. I can't keep pushing this. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. And I mean, I'm about to go on a silent retreat this weekend in Carlow and Shockbreed, one of my favourite practices and things to do. And what I'm always reminded of after a silent retreat, meditation retreat, is everything that we need is within. There's no necessarily specific piece of land we need to go to grow, or go completely out of our comfort zone, or go to this yoga retreat, or go to this shamanic journey or ceremony, or take this plant medicine. There's nothing really we need to do to come into love and peace. Everything we need is within. And currently, I've moved from a really abundant place of having my own vegetables growing on the land, my ancestral lands, living opposite a very ancient forest, having all the kind of plants and herbs around me. And I'm now living on a piece of land that has been farmed, by livestock. So there's no trees, there's no vegetables, there's no plants. Luckily we're really close to 10 minutes from the coast, but it feels like everything's been stripped back, and I really just have to realise that I don't need all these things in the external. Like, what I really need is to sit with myself and remember my own divinity. And sometimes a plain natural landscape can allow us space to look inwards, for me, nature is my spirituality, but nature is ourselves. Nature is a farmed grass. Nature is such simple things that we don't have to seek outside of ourselves and go to extravagant landscapes all the time. Says me, and I've spent much of my life travelling to different sacred sites and amazing landscapes, but yeah, everything we need is within. And I think it's a beautiful thing to remember right now as we come into the dark half of the year. So here in Ireland it's getting dark at around 4:30 or 5. So we are not going out as much into the external world. It's a time of introspection, looking inwards, looking at our shadow. So it's a beautiful time to remember that there's nowhere you need to be. There's nothing actually you need to be doing to be spiritual or to be healing. Just sitting with yourself can be really, really, really powerful. And I've shared a bit about it on Instagram as well, but I've never really said this before, but it's been a really, really difficult year for my family. There's just been a lot of traumatic, difficult things happen. Like, you just couldn't make it up. Well, it was just one thing after another, They say things comes in trees. It came in trees, and it was like, oh my God, I think even like there was a few funerals, and just how much energy it is to go out into the world to those sorts of things now when you're in the midst of an awakening. Like, it was just absolutely exhausting. And if you're someone who's had a really difficult year as well, and I know a lot of us had, I'm just giving myself permission to really take it easy this winter, and I just don't be online much anymore. I haven't seen anybody. I'm kind of put myself in a little bit of a lockdown. It's like, I really need to tend to myself. It's really important for us to do that, to reflect on the year that's been and say, what do I need now given the year that I've had? Do I need to rest? Or do I actually need to, visit my friends? Or what is it I need to do? Do I need to go to a silent retreat? Things like that. And yeah, the Samhain is the beginning of the Celtic New Year, so it's also a time to reflect on the year that's been and to really see what do I need now in order to really, really nourish myself this year, so I can come back in spring renewed and rested. Yes. So that's some more musings on what's been happening in my life, and what's been coming up at Samhain. Yeah, I could go on about what's been coming up for me at Samhain. Lack mentality. I'm like, here, seriously. I need, if you have a lot of Irish ancestors the famine really brought us into a massive state of lack. We were dying of hunger. We were eating dead babies. Seriously, it was really intense. It's just seeing where the lack mentality still resides within me. And been really compassionate to myself because I'm continuously working on it to heal it. And but just seeing that subtly come up again around Samhain, not feeling good enough, not loving myself, self-criticism, which I was then projecting onto my partner. Fear of sharing my voice. So lots of different things. And I think, when we're doing ancestral healing, it's really important to be compassionate with ourselves, because when we're dealing with hundreds or even thousands of ancestral pain, it's going to take some time. And being just, our main mission is love. So no matter what healing is coming up, what pain is coming up, what difficulties you're having in your relationship, coming back to love is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. What else? And just on the money thing, because I have definitely slowed down a lot of my work. I'm just working with a few one-to-one clients, and I've been lucky enough to take a step back. And a lot of people ask me, how do I survive? A lot of it is about trust. A lot of it is about trust that you will be provided for. I never really worry, even though there's definitely some lack still within me that's been shed right now, I never worry that more money isn't coming my way. I always trust that the ancestors will provide for me in whatever way I need it. So taking a step back to rest and trusting. And luckily, out of nowhere, I got some money, a couple of grand back from the tax man there. I was like, I got money back from the tax. What? Thank you, ancestors. Just before Samhain, it was like, you're doing the right thing by resting, and here we're giving you some abundance to support that. So it really takes a lot of trust and surrender. Money is coming to me from known and unknown sources. I'm living in my heart, and I deserve to have the abundance that I need for my mission. Also, living a minimalistic life helps. And we are living in a mobile home right now. So we're rent-free, and it's absolutely amazing. We're relying on the stove for our heat, which is just really helping me build my relationship and connection to the fire. And my partner has his own well here, and it's just a really beautiful alternative to renting in Ireland. What? It's just and that is a whole other rant I would love to go on in another podcast. Is like, rent in Ireland is just so painfully difficult, I think before I met my partner, who lives in Wexford, I was looking for a house to live in Wexford, and a 1-bed mouldy house that was damp, 1 bed was like 1,300 a month. 3-bed house, you're looking at 2.5 grand a month. It's just a really difficult scenario in Ireland when it comes to rent. But anyways, really buying your own house is cheaper, or having a piece of land, putting a mobile on it, building a cabin, or whatever. There has to be alternative options. Anyways, that's just a bit of a life update, and I do like to share that because I would love to know these details about the people that I follow. I'd love to know some of their juicy life updates. And hopefully I'll get my partner on the podcast sometime and we can chat about what it's been like to be in a conscious relationship, because there's a lot to share. he, like last week, he came back from a fire retreat in Sligo with my friend Aoife, and, you know, obviously it was really powerful and amazing, and he's been deep on his own spiritual path and healing path for years, but he was like, Jesus, being in a conscious relationship is the most up-leveling thing there is. It's the most, you know, it's better than any plant medicine or retreat or whatever, because it brings up all your shit. And I'm like, yep, yes it does. And it also, yeah, allows you to feel loved, which really brings so much deep healing as well. So that's a bit of a life update. And yes, what else did I want to talk about? Let me just tune in now. In my cree. Water. Ishkanefa. I'm not sure how much time this needs, but I know I've probably mentioned it before and it's such a simple thing, but if someone was to ask me what is the most important thing on your spiritual or awakening path, I would say water. Good water. Good water. So water is where new consciousness is birthed. Water contains so much high vibration if it's good quality water. And as we all know, we are made up of, I don't know, is it 60 or 70% water? So the water we are drinking is so important. So this is your reminder to be drinking good water. So good water is water from a well. And sometimes, like I know when my partner got his well dug, it needed to be cleared out because there was something not good in it, but it's cleaned out and now it's so crystalline, clear and beautiful high vibration water. You can get reverse osmosis on your tap water. I think it's Celtic Water Solutions. Do it. Reverse osmosis. It takes all the badness out of the water. Fluoride, antibiotics, all the shite. And this is just something I'm really passionate about. Another option is to drink from holy wells or springs. So before I moved in with my partner, that's what I was doing, because we had mains water at home, which I wouldn't drink if I was on death's door, basically. It's horrendous. Ugh. And it's not just bad for our physical health, but what I'm saying, it's bad for our consciousness, it's bad for our spiritual awakening. It literally keeps us in amnesia of our true state. So yes, most springs and holy wells are safe to drink unless they're close to a farm that's fertilizing the land. I preferred to drink from springs where it was, you know, just easier to fill water bottles and things like that. And there was many around me. There was a lovely one in Thomastown, County Kilkenny. It's just opposite the fire station if anyone is in the Kilkenny area. And yeah, lots of locals actually drink from it. It's really, really good water. And there's another beautiful spring on the side of Brandon Hill in Kilkenny, which is amazing. And someone has told me about a spring on the side of Tara Hill in Wexford near Gorey. So just doing a bit of research, finding a spring. I have to say, since I moved here and the tap is well water, so I don't need to go to the wells anymore. I miss that practice. So there is a beautiful holy well close to us called St. Anne's, and I'm going to start drinking some of that water as well, because it's important to drink, I feel, from holy wells as well, where the energy is really potent, because different pieces of the land will have different consciousnesses and healings present in the water. And this is something that was well known throughout these Celtic Isles, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. Different wells had different healing miracles. I remember being at Scotland's Well in Scotland, obviously, and reading a sign where Mary Queen of Scots used to come there for healing. And I think, what was the healing? It was for jaundice or something like that. And lots of different famous royal people used to go to Scotland's Well for that healing modality. And so it was well known in Ireland. Like the one, Brandon Hill in Kilkenny, it was, if you were having any issues in your marriage, that well would cure that. So different wells. And I think it's the travelling community in Ireland. They're really connected to the wells. And I've often been in wells in the middle of nowhere, and travellers will have come from the other side of the country going, yeah, I came here because this well is known for curing eye problems or skin issues. And it's very prevalent in rural Ireland still, this knowledge of the cures of different wells. Yeah, I know in Skioch in County Kilkenny, close to where I grew up, there's a well there, and it's for anyone with skin issues. And yeah, a cousin of mine went down. I think he had a wart or something on his finger, and yeah, he went to the well and it disappeared. So, holy wells. Water is the medicine. Water is the medicine. And, you know, I've mentioned before Druidry, or the Druids and the Druidesses of this land. And, you know, I remember when I started reading books on Druidry, one of the first things that was kind of brought to my attention was the Druids' connection to the wells. So a lot of the time in Ireland you're going to holy wells and they're called St. Patrick's Well or St. Brendan's Well. These wells probably that's not their original name. A lot of wells have feminine names because water is a feminine element and a feminine energy. So a lot of the time it was priestesses who were guardians of the well. So the wells in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, wherever, have been here way before Christianity and the Catholic Church. So it's very important. Like, I think sometimes when I go to holy wells, people think I'm Catholic or Christian. I'm like, these wells are Druidic. These are ancient wells from the indigenous cultures and medicine keepers of this land. And a lot of the time, the land and the waters will give you its original name, which is usually feminine. You know, a lot of the wells are really connected to Goddess Bridget, which is, a well-known goddess here in Ireland. We all love Bridget. And Danu, goddess, the mother of the two of the Dan, and she's very much connected to the waters as well. So water is the medicine. I really feel it's one of the most important things on our awakening path, is to have access to good, crystalline, high vibration water. As I said, you can get water filters that actually, you know, you get a whole new tap. There's like jug filters as well. I know my partner used to have one and they were very good as well. Like, they remove, I think it was just called a water filter, but they remove, like, they're like a couple of €100. I'm not talking about the small little jug filters, but so there's lots of different options, or going to a spring or a holy well. And also, and I share a lot of it on my Instagram, is getting into the sacred waters. And a lot of the retreats that I used to run in Wicklow were around, literally, they were called the sacred waters. So our Druidic ancestors and, you know, the indigenous tribes and people all over the world knew that the water held the sacred wisdom and memory in the land, of the land. It holds the codes of wisdom. So when we immerse ourselves in the waters, the seas, the rivers, the lakes, the streams, we're literally absorbing the wisdom from the waters and the land. So it's really aided my path, is immersing myself in the waters. And also, the element of water is connected to our emotional state. So our emotions are water internally. So when we go to the water, swim in the waters, it can really help our emotional state. It can help our emotions to come back into a base level of calmness. It can really help us regulate our emotional state. And the element of water also cleanses and purifies us. So when I'm having a really dense time or intense time, I like to go to the water to just cleanse me of all that density and intensity. I mean, look, I could speak for hours about how important the element of water is on our spiritual path, both what we drink and what we get into. So yeah, really encouraging you to get some high vibration water. In terms of getting into cold water, I'm giving myself a break in winter. I'm like, you know what does my body really need? It needs a hot sauna and a jacuzzi. Yeah, I've joined the last couple of months. I've been going into the sauna and jacuzzi, and that's sacred water too, right? Might be a bit of chlorine in there, but it's nothing we can't wash off in the shower afterwards. So, you know, whatever feels most nourishing to you in terms of the waters. Maybe a hot bath. That's one now. If you get a well installed, have a hot bath with seaweed with some well water. That is some high vibration right there. So yeah, there is. I think that's Sinead for this episode. Yeah, I really just wanted to share a bit of a life update, what sound was bringing up for me, and yeah, just a reminder of the importance of high vibrational water. So yeah, wishing you all a beautiful new moon in Scorpio. Important time to set new intentions, especially for the winter ahead. And yeah, may you have a blessed winter, and I will be back again soon. Slán go fóill, Cara.